I've, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm more than excited, humbled, and honored to be able to come into your offices, your homes, your spaces, wherever you are, and give you 15 minutes of daily inspiration. You know what we do at New Birth. We don't do it like anybody else does it. That's why you're tuned in here. You're taking a late lunch with us, and I want to start by thanking my pastoral partners, my spiritual siblings, Pastor Kylese Lemons, along with Pastor Kerry Turner, because we've been blessed with the opportunity to share with you throughout COVID-19. We're tiptoeing closer to being quarantined for 5 weeks. Can you believe it? We've been in this space for 5 weeks, and for 5 weeks, God, through the vision of our senior pastor, Dr. Jamal-Harrison Bryant, has given us an opportunity to do more than church, but we're serving you on a regular basis. And today, we're coming in for an opportunity to be inspired. So I need you to stop right now what you're doing, and I want you to hit the share button. I want you to start a watch party, because you influence a circle of people that listen to your voice. And I want you to enjoy, through note-taking, making sure that this moment inspires you. As you understand, I'm your pastor of Internet and Innovation, Kervance Ross, and I'm more than humble to be able to tune in on a specific topic that inspires you. Thank you for your messages, your inboxes, your comments, letting us know how much this has impacted you. And I'm on a series. Early this week, I started with a series called Success in Separation. And I talked about burying fear and doubt and keeping in that same motif, that same momentum, focusing in on your business plan, your purpose plan, and your life plan. I want to tune into your life plan, and I'm calling part 2 of Success in Separation, The Last Dance. The last dance. It is the opportunity for you to embrace loss in the moments of your life. It is no coincidence that I have on my Jordan gear. It is no coincidence that I call this the last dance. There are those of you who operate outside of the will of God and don't recognize that the greatest of all times is not the dude in Los Angeles. There's a guy that played in Chicago. His name is Michael Jeffrey Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time. And many of us have been glued to the screen on last Sunday and for the next several weeks, because they have a series on ESPN called The Last Dance. And it allows them to look at the last year of the second three-peat of the Chicago Bulls. And it allowed cameras to go in on a back end and see a secret perspective of the challenges they faced before Jerry Krause decided that he was going to break up a winning team. And as we've been watching the first 2 episodes, it created an impetus for me to be able to challenge us as we focus on our business plan, as we focus on our purpose plan, but more importantly, as we focus on our life plan, that this moment for many of us is the last call. You've got to learn how to smile in the face of death. I said it. You've got to learn how to smile in the face of death. What does this have to do with anything? Many of us do not realize that the word death simply means to separate. I'm going to say it again. The word death simply means to separate. And in this last call, many of us have minimized the fact that we have not been quarantined. You heard me tell you earlier, you have been quarantined, because God has given you an opportunity to develop quality in your life. And many of us have been put in the position to see this moment as a last call. It was the last call because right before you went into COVID-19, you were on the verge of losing your job. You have a last call. You were getting ready to lose your home. There is a last call. You were getting ready to be redirected in your finances, and he put the whole world on pause to give you a last call. And it's the opportunity for you to be able to smile in face of death. Some of us, we're smiling in the face of death literally because we have lost loved ones. We have lost people that we cared about, and we thought they would be here the whole time. We prayed for success, and we did not recognize that when God started to elevate us, some stuff and people had to drop off. I know you didn't want to hear it. Sometimes in life, if you're going higher, the weight that you've been carrying to get to the next altitude force some people to drop off. You've got to learn how to smile in the face of death. You need a Jerry Krause spirit where you got to break up what has been good to set up what is about to be great. And I want to challenge you and help you recognize that one change can shift everything. One moment in time, one circumstance, one decision to go to the left when you felt the inkling to go to the right, and your business plan has been altered, your life plan has been altered, your purpose plan has been altered, and this last dance moment is just for you. I want you to be able to embrace the loss. Yes, Michael Jordan goes on to be successful. Yes, Scottie Pippen gets a better contract. Yes, Steve Kerr becomes the coach of one of the greatest teams in the history of basketball. But it was the breakup of the last dance that set up the greatness of their current shuffle and two-step. And now we're finding that for you to be great in your purpose, for you to obtain what God has for you, you've got to embrace this last dance. There's a few things you've got to do to smile in the face of death and help allow separation to be successful for you. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to learn to manage your emotions for the success of your future. You've got to learn to manage your emotions for the success of your future. Many of us don't realize that we're praying for God to do something deep while operating in our most shallow place. I'm going to miss the Olympics. They pushed it back to 2021, and we don't realize that one of my favorite events in the Olympics, particularly the Summer Olympics, is the high dive event. And I've never seen anyone high dive into 3 feet of water. It would cause a detriment to their health. It would cause a detriment to their longevity, because you can only high dive into deep water. And if we don't learn how to manage our emotions when it comes down to this last dance, you're praying for God to do something deep, and He will never do anything deep in your most shallow place. Realize that when you take the E off of emotion, it means motion, which means it continually shifts. It continually changes. You can be up one minute in your emotions and down in the next. And this reality has not just a life practicality, but it's a biblical principle. Isaiah chapter 6, one of my favorite passages, it says, in the year that King Uzziah, or the theologian says Uzziah, but I grew up in the Baptist church, so they called it Uzziah. He said that in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw. Where is managing your emotions? Isaiah said, I'm not telling you what time the funeral was. I don't know what he had on in the casket. I don't know who officiated it. All I know is that I managed my emotions enough for this last call with my uncle to have a long-time relationship with my master. And his life plan forever changed because he was able to manage his emotions for the success of his future. And I'm challenging you in this last call, as stuff is dying, as stuff is separating, you've got to have success in separation to realize I've got to manage my emotions. But not only do I manage my emotions, this is a good time to share. Some of you got comfortable that this message was talking to you, but you know somebody who needs to hear it. Share right now, because to have success in this last dance moment, you've got to manage your emotions. But secondly, you have to begin to reconstruct your core values for long-term direction. Reconstruct your core values for long-term direction. What does this mean? In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord. He wasn't seeing clear until he reconstructed his core value. His core value said that Uncle Uzziah gave me everything I wanted. Realize that Isaiah's daddy had died, and now his uncle is taking over. And he now takes the place of an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent God. Every time Isaiah needs a doctor, he sits down on Uzziah's couch to see his physician. When he has a pain, he calls Uzziah's masseuse. When he has a need for clothes, he calls Uzziah tailors. When he needs to go to a different destination, he jumps in Uzziah's Bentley. His core value was, I can't see God because I'm looking at Uzziah. And this is the moment that in the last dance, some of us have to come to the reality that things died because it was blocking our view of the master. It had to shift. You didn't get where you needed to be until grandmama died. You thought you were going to be with her forever, and you were minimizing your success, because every time God called you to do what he was calling you to do, you couldn't focus your mind because you wondered, is grandmama going to be all right? Daddy died. You thought you had to have daddy, and you reconstructed your core value, only realizing that once daddy went down, my blessing went up. And it forces us to realize that for success in separation, this last dance moment is God breaking up things and helping us reconstruct our core value, because in the long term, he sees where we're heading. And in the short term, he's not concerned about exactly where we are. He's setting us up to move from where we are to where he ultimately wants us to be. So the last dance, you're learning to smile in death. You don't just manage your emotions. You don't just reconstruct your core values. But fourthly or thirdly, you realize potential while developing your goals. You realize your potential while developing your goals. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting high and lifted up. And now I realize that he's encompassed the space that I was in. I realize that I can operate in the space that God has put me in as long as I allow him to fill it up. And many of us don't realize one of the biggest challenges in embracing separation is we keep letting people fill up the vessel that God is trying to fill up. And it's forcing us to be put in a position where God makes us an accomplice to homicide, because he's forcing us to kill off some stuff so that he can convict us of being called to the current call that he has for our lives. He's called you to be a business owner. He's called you to write the book. He's called you to preach the sermon. He's called you to change the course of your family's destiny. You will no longer be broke in this family. You will no longer operate in poverty. Nobody else will miss their education. But for success to happen, you got to have a last call. I remember when I would go to the club, I hadn't been saved all my life, and even when I was saved, I enjoyed having a party. They would get there at the club and they start flicking the lights and they said, "This is the last call." Some of you looking so funny. I hate how you're looking at me through that camera with your eye of scrutiny. You've been there. You've been at the last call, and it lets you know either you get the last drink, you get the last dance, or you got to get out of here. And this last call moment is saying, if you don't understand that your potential is greater than your current circumstance, I can't move you where you need to be until I push you beyond this. I need you to see your potential. I heard Bishop Larry Trotter say it, and I never forgot it. I see you in your future. And your future looks better than your current. It looks better than your past. Where you're going to be is going to be better than where you are. You got to learn that this last call is setting you up to smile in the face of death. Stuff is dying, but let me help you understand. Autumn, fall is a parallel. It is synonymous with death, because as long as autumn shows up, we don't realize we are celebrating things dying. We're watching the leaves turn colors. It's death. The grass is going brown. It's death. But if it is not for the death, we don't see the potential in autumn until we realize that in the future, in spring, the death of autumn brought about the potential of the greatness of spring. So to finalize this, in our fourth point, not only do you manage your emotions, not only do you reconstruct your core values, not only do you realize your potential while developing your goals, but finally, recapture your joy so that you can optimize your purpose. Realize your business plan will not be successful if your life plan is contaminated. Your business plan can't take off if your life is grounded. And many of us have put our joy to the side. You said, you don't understand, I lost grandmama, I'm grieving. Let me drop this dime for you. Realize that grief is the core root word of the legal terminology grief. Grief is the concept of the word grievance. And if you don't have an issue when there is a grievance, you generally bring in a moderator to maximize the conversation that we cannot get on one accord for, because there's a grievance. But if we are on one accord, there is no grief. The Bible says we don't sorrow like other people sorrow. Do not allow people who had issues to force their grief on you when you had no issue before the separation occurred. You are not in grief if mama died and you were okay. You are not in grief if grandmama died and you're okay. You are in sorrow, and that's okay to be sorrowful. But what I want to challenge you to do in your sorrow, find your purpose. Because Isaiah realizes, although that Uzziah is gone, I see God. He finishes Isaiah and helps us to understand that the government will be on his shoulders. He'll be wonderful. He'll be called Counselor. He'll do a new thing. But the only way he realizes it is because he had a last dance and embraced in the smiling of death that the separation was successful. I'm out of my time. I know that 15 minutes went quick. I enjoyed it. I got to go. But I don't want you to embrace this last dance. I don't want you to smile in the face of death without realizing that you can't do this by yourself. The God we serve wants to walk with you and allow your joy to be full. He wants it to be complete. And we here at New Birth, under the leadership and auspices of our senior pastor, Dr. Jamal-Harrison Bryant, don't want you to just be friends. We want you to be family. So if you would simply click joinnewbirth.org, it's one step. If you go to joinnewbirth.org, you're no longer friends, you're family, and your success is complete. I know that message may have blessed you. So I want to give you an opportunity to worship God through your giving. If you just text NBGIVE to 77977, realize that we are great soil and we are not just focused on regional, we're focused on global, and we take God global everywhere, and we can't do it without you. On top of that, we are honored to be in your space on a regular basis. I am grateful, we are honored, we are humbled, and we keep coming to you. I pray that you have a virus-free rest of your day. I pray that you fall in love with the ability to see stuff die in your life so that you can take off. And I know that God will allow you to see success in the midst of separation. I love you. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Share this message, give, join, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.